What's up, people? So, sorry I haven't been around as much. I've been finding it kind of hard to keep up with the YouTube videos just because there's a lot more that goes into these YouTube videos than people probably might think. But yeah, that's why I'm gonna try and get more back into making YouTube videos. I've been spending a lot of time getting in trouble on TikTok. So if you want to check my account over at TikTok, it is J for Justice 2. Maybe you should check it out. It'd be a good time. So the basis of today's video isn't going to be any kind of like news briefing or anything like that. I mean, there are a couple things that I was going to talk about, but I'm not going to be pulling up the articles or anything like that I typically do in the videos. And I will get back to a normal format, I promise. Just wanted to make sure I got a video out to you guys because I haven't done one in quite some time. I know I'm only speaking to like 30 some subscribers, but whatever. Main topic I want to talk about today is going to be about preps. It's going to be about preps because I don't really talk about it all that much, or I'm not really huge prepping guy or trying to be like a prepping channel, but I do think it's important to have preps and be prepared for, in case things do go down. Even if your power goes out, with a lot of the things with the electrical grid going on right now, it might be really important to have your preps ready, have yourself prepared in case anything happens. So we're going to take a look at some of the things that I have prepped, how I organize it, and how I use these products to help me be prepared in case of any situations that are dangerous that you find yourself caught up in. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about how you should have a wood burner. Yes, the infamous wood burner that was on my intro. I changed the intro, by the way. Hope you guys like it. And then you should have a wood burner because if you have gas heat or if you have propane heat or oil heat, I have oil heat as well. Not only is oil heat astronomically expensive, like the oil is so expensive right now, but it's also not very reliable because as soon as that power goes out, your heat is gone. And that would apply for a lot of things, right? For even natural gas. So it's important, like if you don't have a wood stove or some kind of wood burner in your house, I would strongly think about getting one or investing in one. They aren't cheap, I don't think, and they're not really easy to install, so that's probably going to be a cost as well. But luckily, this house already came with a wood burner, so I was blessed enough to have this wood burner when I moved in. If you don't have one, I'm sure it's not a big deal, but it's definitely something you should be thinking about having in your house or getting one installed probably within the next year or so. Before next winter, definitely. So that's just some advice I have, but obviously you just take what you want from that and do what you are going to do. Make sure you have more wood than I do. I think this is probably, I want to say this is probably less than a third of a cord, which is all I picked up. But the only reason why I only picked up a third of a cord is because the guy I buy it from, he didn't have the full cord ready for me. But I've already gone through, and this is an insulation issue, right? My windows and doors definitely need to be replaced. So this isn't the case for everybody. But if you have new windows and new doors that are insulated properly and sealed off properly, you probably only need like 2 or 3 cords to get you through a whole winter if you're in a place like me, like Pennsylvania, or maybe further up north, I'm not sure. Upper Midwest, I know it can get really cold and they have cold spells for a long period of time. So maybe it's going to be more than that. But generally, I'd say in a place where I live, probably only about 2 or 3 cords in a winter time, if that, maybe 2.5. For me personally, my house is not well insulated and the doors and windows are not sealed properly because it's an older house and they haven't had any replacements on the windows or doors in quite some time. So that means that I ran through a lot more wood. Like I've gone through probably about 4.5 cords already of wood. That is a lot of wood. That is a lot of wood to have to haul here, haul into the basement, and organize on this wall. But it's always better to have more wood than not have any at all or not have enough. That would be the first thing I say to make sure that you have prepped. Heat. Heat is more important than air conditioning. I don't care how people cut it or try and talk about it. Like heat is way more important than cold air or having air conditioning. You can always find shade. You can always cool yourself down with shade. You can't find anything. You can't find any shade that's going to get you warmer. So you need heat. You need firewood. You need a fire. You need something that's going to help keep you warm during the winter. So just remember, if you're in the need of prepping and having yourself prepared for anything that may happen, having a wood burning stove is definitely the way to go, and having wood for that stove is definitely important. All right, so we're going to move on to the next thing. Water. So I know a lot of people get freaked out with like BPA and all this other stuff because after a certain amount of time, if it expires or if it's been sitting there for a long time, people are afraid that the BPA leaks into the water, which I'm sure it does. The thing is, whenever you're dying of thirst and there's nothing else to drink and you don't have, say, a creek, or the creek's gone bad or something, you know, if you don't have water, you're going to drink that. You can pour it in, you can boil it, you can go through methods of methods of purifying it again. So it's better to have water, even if it's old or out of date, than to not have water at all. Water is obviously the most important thing because you will die without water within 3 days. I'll show you what I do with my food collection. These are the kind of containers I keep my food in. I do have more food upstairs, and I do have the containers, like the ReadyWise containers, and those containers that last a lot longer, like the 25-year shelf life ones. But it also is important to have canned goods stored away. I definitely say that whenever you're storing the canned goods away, and I learned this last year, it's very important to store them in the right place, because I had fruit stored in one of these bins, but one, it wasn't properly sealed, and two, I let it get way too cold in the basement last year, and so whenever some stuff freezes, it expands whenever it finally thaws out. So by the springtime, whenever I opened up the fruit stash, all my cans of fruit were busted because they have liquid in them, and some of these vegetable cans definitely have liquid in them. So it's definitely good to be mindful of the fact that there is liquid involved. So wherever you're storing your prep food, to store it in an area where it's going to last longer and you don't have to worry about it, expanding and contracting. So for me personally, I organize my prep food by the year. So I have the years written on them, the final year. So you can see all this is going bad in 2023, sometime later this year. I do this to remind myself of the cans that I can just go ahead and look at exactly when they go bad, and I can go ahead and just use them as regular food. Like I can incorporate them into a meal I'm making or something, so I don't let the food go to waste. But also, an important thing to remember is some of these canned goods, they will last you, 2 or 3 years after their expiration date, and probably even well after that. But it's to be safe, I would only go like a couple years past the expiration date. But it's good to know that. So you don't necessarily have to do it this way. You don't necessarily have to label them and pull them out and rotate them and eat the ones that are about to go bad, because you could still save it. Say if you're running low on cash or running low on your ability to purchase prep food, then save that can, because in 2 years' time, who knows where we will be. And if you still have it it'll likely still be good enough for you to eat. So you'll still have emergency food in the stash to go ahead and eat. I have a whole nother bin underneath this one, and as you can see, it is sealed by this bin being on top of it, and that's food that is older. So that's food with the years for like 2024, 2025, even up to 2027. So I would say it is definitely important to make sure that you have your preps ready. All right, warriors, so that was a little look into my stash of food. That is stuff that I accumulated over years of doing. So why I used to live in Washington, D.C. I know, stupid, right? I lived like right in Washington, D.C., not downtown, but I lived within the District of Columbia. So I started this prep situation with food all the way back in 2019. So I was kind of a little bit ahead of the curve even before the whole scamdemic came about. I was still must have had a good foresight for what might happen, and I already started prepping before that with the food. So a lot of these cans are from like 3 or 4 years ago, the ones that are 2023. So I acquired them over time. So if you see it and you're like, oh, there's no way I can have that right now, I suggest when you go to the store, when you go to the grocery store, first off, look at the longest out date. So you're going to want to look at your dates, and you're going to see which date is the furthest out. A little trick that I use is most of the farthest out dates are the trickiest, tend to be the trickiest cans to get to. So usually like it's like with milk, the longest expiration date, the furthest expiration date out from the time that you are shopping is usually the milk carton that's all the way in the back, because the stores, they rotate their food out just the same. So they want to put the farthest date back, so more people grab the upcoming date first. They design it that way so that the product that's closer to expiration is taken first, which makes sense. That's how, by a business standpoint, that makes perfect sense. So you apply that logic to the canned goods. A good rule of thumb to do whenever you're going out, if you have the spare money, so I'm not telling you to go ahead and do this every time you go shopping, because I know not everybody has the money to even buy any food right now, which is so sad and very disappointing. But if you're going out and you're going shopping, you get at least one can of something. And if that's how you're going to operate, is getting one can of something every time you go out, make sure you're getting an essential every time you go out. So one time you go out, you get tuna, canned chicken, sardines, anything, protein. So focus on going out, getting one can of protein. Next time you go shopping, go out and focus on getting a vegetable. And then the next time you go out shopping, focus on getting a fruit, so that you'll have options and proper nutrition on what you will need when the situation finally comes where you will need this prep food. You will have every kind of nutrition you'll need. You'll have your protein, you'll have your carbohydrates, you'll have your essential sugars, you'll have your vitamins, minerals, all that, by sticking to a plan. Stick to getting your protein one time you go shopping, then get your fruit, then get your vegetables. If that's how you got to do it, that's how you got to do it. And over time, you will accumulate a lot of food. Now, if you have a bit more money, every time you go out, you can use that method. Buy one can of protein, one can of fruit, and one can of vegetables, all in that one trip every time you go shopping. Your supply will fill out much faster, and you'll be ready to go. Like, you'll have everything you need. And also rice and beans. I know rice and beans is a big one. I do have a lot of rice and beans, but they don't have everything that you need. Like, you need fruit, you need vitamin C, you need vitamin D, you need a lot of stuff that might not be easy to access whenever things do go down. I know I said I was going to get into a news story or two. I don't think I'm going to do that, but I will make it aware that there was another shooting in downtown Pittsburgh. I don't know if anybody got killed. I didn't listen too much to it. But another shooting in downtown Pittsburgh. When I was growing up, my mom used to work downtown. I used to go with her to work sometimes. I used to go downtown and walk around as a 10-year-old kid and never had to worry about being mugged, having to be kidnapped, or any of the sort, being assaulted. The difference between then and now is night and day, and we're talking only 20 years ago, maybe less, a little bit less than 20 years ago, like 18 years ago, because I'm almost 30. So this world is getting darker. I'm telling you, your cities are getting worse. People are caring less, and they are losing that intuitive ability to want to interact with another human being and genuinely care for other people's lives. This is important to remember, and this is why I bring up this whole prepping situation, because it's important for us to be prepared in case anything does go down. And even for us that are out in the country, there's always possibilities of ways that people can make their way out here. So don't think that you're immune to all this stuff if you're out in the country. It's best to be prepared no matter what. Even if you have a garden, even if you're the best gardener in the world, even if you have livestock, it's always good to have extra food around, because you don't know what the whole system is going to pull. They could release some kind of deadly pathogen on our livestock, on our plants, release locusts on our plants. You don't know what their plans are, but you can know that they are not good. They are not plans that are trying to help us. So if you keep that in mind, you'll stay ahead of the curve if you have extra food to back yourself up. Make sure that you're just keeping accounts of what you have, dates on things, rotating them, like I said. Just be aware of which ones are going to go bad soon, so that way you can kind of mark them and set them off to another side, so you don't have to organize it later. You can just organize it as you go. So with that, that's all I'm going to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it was informative, and that maybe I can help you in your prepping journey a little bit. I'm not, like I said, I'm not any kind of crazy doomsday prepper, and I'm not so advanced in this prepping situation. It's just that I like to stay on top of essentials. I mean, who wouldn't want to? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Hopefully I see you guys in a couple more days. I hope you warriors have a great rest of your week, and as always, go in peace.